Welcome, everybody, to another Voice of Nick show. We are working once again on the audiobook project for A Japanese Boy. This one is moving along. We're picking up exactly where we left off on the previous episode here. For anybody who doesn't know, the book is now available on Kindle, so you can find the Kindle edition on Amazon right now. This is the cover that you're looking for. And, this is a new digital illustrated edition. I wrote an introduction for it as well. It's totally, like newly gone over by me for all of the content in the book and preserving the feel of it and, making sure to uphold all the character of the book in this digital edition. This book has been available before in digital editions, but they're all kind of like auto-generated versions, which are not really copy edited. So this one is like a true, new release of it. So you can find this now on Kindle, and we're working on the audiobook edition, which will be coming soon. So as always with these, you're seeing my actual process. This is the later part of the process where I actually just listen back to the book and mark anything that needs changes or revisions. So you're going to hear a mostly uninterrupted preview of a section of the book. And again, I'm aware that you're able to listen to this to simply get a portion of the book for free. So, I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And if you do like it, then I hope you'll consider checking it out for yourself on Amazon or Audible. So let's jump into it.
Vocal cultivation is conducted in a singular way. During the winter, the girl in training clothes herself comfortably, takes a samisen, and ascends every cold night the scaffold erected on the roof of the house for drying purposes. There she sits for hours together amid the howling blasts, singing defiantly and banging away courageously at the samisen. Upon her coming down, she is found worse than hoarse. She can hardly utter a word. The training is observed persistently until her former voice has entirely left her, and gradually a clear, new voice, as it were, breaks out in the harshness. This voice can stand a storm. The discipline is now over. A little care needs only to be exercised in the maintenance of the acquired voice. The practice, I am well aware, will hardly commend itself to the gentlewomen of this republic, who are wrapped all winter long in furs and sealskins, and would not think for a moment of leaving the chimney corner. In my fancy, I hear them repel it with their passionate, "What an idea!" Therefore, I conclude it prudent to say nothing in praise of the barbarous measure, and simply state the plain fact that it has produced many an Apollo in Japan. In the other seasons of the year, after having screamed out her worthless voice, the girl takes a dose of pulverized ginger and sugar to tone up the vocal cords. I digressed from dancing to music. Now I wish to return to dancing again for a few moments. In parlor gatherings and sociables, light pieces are presented, and such small things as fans, towels, masks, umbrellas, bells, tambourines only are used in dancing. Fans are most commonly used, many astonishing tricks being played with them. The guests sit in a body off the arena, where the dancer steps out. The samisen player tunes the instrument on one side. The preliminary chords ring, then come the words in song, and in accordance with them, the actions of the dancer. The dances intended for the stage are much more elaborate. Scenes are to be fitted up. Varieties of gewgaws, artificial flowers, falling paper snow, fallen woolly cotton,
I think that needs to be shorter.
it up. Varieties. The actions of the dancer. The dances intended for the stage are much more elaborate. Scenes are to be fitted up. Varieties of gewgaws, artificial flowers, falling paper snow, fallen woolly cotton snow, painted waves, the outline of a boat, a lantern moon, a gilded paper crown, baskets, shells, a wooden scythe, a toy tub, high clogs, yards of white silk, etc., etc., are to be procured. These vain, empty articles rise up in my mind, for I used to see them stowed away in the dusty garret. They were jostled about by other things, lay in everybody's way, became mutilated, and fully repaid the glory they had received one night behind the footlights. We have spent time and money in getting them up, however. Certain things we have even sent for to Osaka and Kyoto. I remember seeing my sister practice
I'll mark this.
Osaka.
This is, so he's supposed to say or Kyoto, which is not that big of a deal. I probably won't even replace it, but I'll mark it. It's interesting that in this book, and I mentioned this in the editor's introduction, that he spells Kyoto as Kioto and Tokyo as Tokio, which was actually the common spelling in English even through almost the mid-1900s, which is pretty interesting. I hadn't known about that.
We have even sent for to Osaka and Kyoto. I remember seeing my sister practice day after day dancing with the aforementioned long white silk scarves. The dance was to represent the process of bleaching by a famous maiden named Okane, who dwelt beside Lake Biwa. Of all sorts of waves and undulations and flutterings she had to produce with them, I recollect one. It is to shake one scarf right and left horizontally overhead, and the other up and down longitudinally in front. Try it with your hands and see, reader. You'll find it no easy task. In the stage dances, the dancers must dress true to the conceptions of the characters they undertake to represent. This necessitates a large wardrobe, though the gorgeous costumes are generally made of cheap materials, and the aid of artificial lights is expected to finish off the effects. The face of the dancer is usually painted, but not so much as that of a professional actress. The whole affair, however, savors strongly of stage play. Several...
Hold on, I'm going to bring in the next chapter here.
The whole affair, however, savors strongly of stage play. Several persons sometimes dance together, carry on dialogues, and indeed dance part of a play or drama. Chapter 6. Amateur Actors and Real Actors and Actresses. Our best friends were not limited to ladies, but comprised several select gentlemen.
Okay, so that sounded good. Chapter 5. 6 already has a revision marked on it. And here we go.
The ladies, but comprise several select gentlemen. In Japan, we have more social freedom than people are apt to think. Many of the young gentlemen entertained us well. Some were beautiful singers, others fine musicians, and still others elegant dancers. One among them, a person of fine appearance who fell in love with the dancing teacher's pretty daughter, and who afterward married her, was quite highly accomplished. He possessed artistic tastes, probably inherited from his father, who was an art connoisseur. Art as it appeared in china wares, scrolls, kakemono, wall hangings, old bric-a-brac, etc. The young man could sketch, talk brilliantly, render gentlemen's dances creditably, and was handsome to look at. He used to pay us respects, for his parents, particularly his cheery, bright-eyed little mother, was a dear friend of ours, and his sisters were great friends of my sisters. The girls went to sewing school together. You know, as we do not have the sewing machine, and as we are to a certain extent our own tailors and dressmakers, Japanese girls must take lessons in sewing, as American young ladies take lessons in painting and on the piano. They do crazy work and fancy work too, and talk over their notions extravagantly, rashly confide everything to each other, and exclaim, "Lovely," in Japanese. This young man felt from his childhood a passion for the stage. As he grew up, his dramatic taste became irresistible. At last, escaping the vigilance of his family, he ran away to the neighboring province of Tosa, ours is Iyo, and committed himself to the care of a noted actor named...
I think that's too big of a pause. Iyo apparently is no longer a province. I think this it has been been absorbed into a different one. Let's pull it up here. Iyo province was a province of Japan in northwestern Shikoku. It bordered on Sanuki, and it now is what? It spoke the Iyo dialect. Interesting. I'm not very good with different dialects of, like non-like Tokyo dialect. So this is where the book takes place, in this area.
Of his family, he ran away to the neighboring province of Tosa, ours is Iyo, and committed himself to the care of a noted actor named Hanshiro. The young man told us how he had been launched in the work. The actor apprentice, when admitted to the stage, is obliged to put on rags and help make up the mob, or a gang of thieves. In order to make a hero's power appear greater by contrast, it is a stage trick in Japan that the mob, thieves, and characters of that sort should turn somersaults at the hero's simple lifting of his hand. It is a sight to be seen when a swarm of them around one brave person turn in the air and light safely upon their feet. They do it so very deftly that they must practice a great deal. Our friend first practiced this aerobatic feat on a thick quilt for fear that he might break his neck. In time, however, he could do it on the hard wooden stage floor. After filling this gymnastic role for some time, he was promoted by degrees to more important posts. By reason of his personal attractions, he was at his best as a gallant youth. I have observed many a fair spectator flush visibly, heave gentle sighs, and watch him in absorption, while he delivered a lovely soliloquy in a clear voice.
Mm-hmm. It's probably fine, but...
Soliloquy.
It's supposed to say love soliloquy. Sometimes I let things slide, like if I just switched out a word that doesn't really change the meaning. Like if I change like to the or something, or if it doesn't actually have any significance in the context, it's on a case-by-case basis. But this one slightly changes it, so I might re-record it. At this stage, I mark anything that seems like a problem, and then when I'm going through to do all the re-records, I can choose at that point, like, that doesn't need to be re-recorded. But I probably will redo this one.
Absorption, while he delivered a lovely soliloquy in a clear voice. He did become an actor in the fullest sense of the term, and a creditable one, too. But having satisfied his long-cherished desire for once, a space of several years, he obeyed the paternal summons and returned home. He then went into business and fairly settled down to earnest life. Nevertheless, at times his roving nature got the better of him, and the young man would be missed from home. Soon the news arrives from somewhere that he is displaying his dramatic talents with a theatrical company, to the utmost delight of the people, and that the showers of favors and tokens of their appreciation visit him constantly. But the manner in which his aged parents take this affair is by itself a good bit of comedy. They bemoan themselves over their son's unsteady life, and often in their visit to us seek our condolence. Notwithstanding the apparent sorrow, whenever their boy has been heard to make a decided hit, none are more pleased than they. The old couple, being themselves fond of gaiety, extended a helping, willing hand to the dancing society, wherein their son moved actively. It was indeed under the supervision of the good old gentleman that the huge curtain was completed. I think he designed and painted it mostly by himself. Our young friend's presence in the town naturally gave rise to a race of amateur actors. One of them...
Like there, for example, it's supposed to say, our young friend's presence in town. And I said presence in the town. But that doesn't really change significantly the meaning. Even the other one didn't, because ultimately a love soliloquy or a lovely soliloquy achieve the same result in the sentence he's saying, which is that, the women swooned when he delivered a love soliloquy or delivered a lovely soliloquy. Either way, it's the same, but in this case, it is, I don't know. Yeah, there's a certain point where they definitely have to be changed. That one's more of like a, gray area.
Our young friend's presence in the town naturally gave rise to a race of amateur actors. One of them particularly I recall with great interest, on account of his diverse accomplishments. He tried his hand at almost every trade. I believe certain peculiarities in his childhood induced his parents to put him in a monastery. He grew up a studious boy, but indulged not infrequently in pranks. Suddenly, in his early manhood, it dawned upon him that he was richly endowed with the stage gift. Accordingly, he left the temple behind, and after clerking a while in his brother's store across the street from us, appeared on the stage. His versatile nature did not keep him long in that vocation. He soon sobered down to a shoemaker, discovering that the bread earned by the sweat of the brow was more to his satisfaction. That is, I concluded so in his case. He may have found, for aught I know, that by acting such as his, he could not make a decent living, and therefore had better quit playing. He was not long in making another discovery, and that was that the drudgery of the shop did not exactly suit his refined tastes. At all events, he must take a little air sometimes. He would go about the streets selling greens. Yes, that was a splendid plan, combining trade and exercise. And so he turned a vegetable vendor this time, nobody regarding it a too humble occupation in such a small community as ours. Later, he became an amazake man. The amazake, sweet liquor, is prepared by subjecting soft boiled rice to saccharine fermentation and checking the process just at the point where the sugar gives up its alcohol. Hence, it is sweet, palatable, and very popular with children. We brewed some at home. My mother had hard work to satisfy the large family of thirsty mouths. Our man of all trades went about asking the public in all the notes of the gamut if they would not tickle their palates with his honest, sweet liquor. To be always on foot as an itinerant tradesman, however, proved too much for his constitution. I will not take it upon me to enumerate in what other things he tried his hand. I hasten on to inform my curious reader that he shaved his head again and joined the priesthood, perfectly content with his diverse worldly experiences. In spite of his fickleness, he was an honest fellow, and passed for a tolerable humorist among his friends. There was another of the number, the keeper of the tavern at the foot of a bridge that spans the little stream running through Imabari town. His figure was tall, imposing, and his expression disposed one to suspect him of a malicious, bitter character. Nature is often capricious. She was certainly capricious in this instance, for into this mold of a man she had infused a nature the most complacent and the most obliging. His comrades assigned him the part of a villain or a cruel lord. To the eye familiar with his everyday life, he figured helplessly as a villain with a good heart, and seemed to spare unnecessary stabs at his victim. Yet he was scrupulously conscientious in the execution of his role. Not a word would he omit in his speech. Once, in playing a wicked lord, in order to assist the memory, he copied his entire part on the face of a flat, oblong piece of wood, which he had all the time to bear erect before him as an ensign of authority. At first on the stage he was wonderfully eloquent. Not a flaw occurred in his long speech. But unfortunately, in the midst of an invective, the scepter slipped off his hand. His lordship's confusion was not to be described. He paused, as if to give an effect of indignation, then tried to think of the rest of the harangue. It did not come. The pause was prolonged, to his own uneasiness as well as to his friends. He now cast about for a decent means of taking himself off the stage. Finally, with a calm, venerable, haughty air, amid giggles and suppressed laughter, my lord stalked off behind the scene. Japanese theater. Through these people, we became acquainted with several professional players. Some people in Japan become quite enthusiastic over their favorite actors and wrestlers. They present them with beautiful posters, on which are stated their gifts, exaggerated above their actual value. These posters are pasted on all sides of the theater or the arena for display. At the entrance to the house of amusement stands a tower, where a small drum of very high pitch is struck for some time previous to the opening of the performance. The admission to the theater ranges from 5 to 25 cents. The stage and the inside as a whole are much larger than any metropolitan or local playhouse that I've seen in America. I admit that most of our theaters are neither carpeted nor furnished with chairs, nor are they lighted with gas nor heated. The parquet is divided into pits by bars, each admitting barely 4 persons in a squatting position. The bars can be removed, uniting the small pits into one large pit of any dimensions, if a party so desire. There are also what will correspond to the dress circle and the family circle. They do not protrude over the parquet, but simply line the walls like balconies. In the parquet, the floor is not raised at the end farther from the stage. Therefore, if Japanese ladies were to wear tall hats, it would be the doomsday for gentlemen. But luckily, the fair members of our community take no pride in the towering head ornaments. Really, they wear none. I have been speaking as if the parquet were floored. In fact, you have to sit close to the ground, mats and quilts of your own providing alone, protecting you from the damp earth. The people bring lunch with them to eat between the acts. I have the fond remembrance of my family astir over the preparation of the lunch on the day we go to see a play. We must take things we shall not be ashamed of spreading before the public, and all the more must be careful in selecting our dishes, for not infrequently we beckon to our acquaintances in the audience to pass away with us the usual long, wearisome intervals of the Japanese theater, during which time no music is played, as in the American theater. Of course, we must take boiled rice. It is our bread. Nobody thinks of forgetting the bread. It is not, however, carried in its bare, glutinous form. It is made into triangular, round, or square masses and rolled in burned bean powder. In the collation at the theater, we dispense with the bowls and chopsticks and use fingers in picking up the mouthfuls of rice. Of various other dishes, I give up the cataloging in despair, for my ingenious countrywomen regale us with the Lord knows how many kinds. The delicacies are packed in several lacquered boxes, and the boxes piled one over another and wrapped in a broad piece of cloth, whose 4 corners are then tied on the top. When the savory burden is being carried, there usually dangles by it a gourd full of sake. The Japanese world takes no note of drinking. The sake is moreover mild, and although sipped on all occasions as freely as tea, is seldom drunk to excess.
Okay, good. That's good progress we've made today. That's going to do it for this episode. Again, the book in Kindle form is available already on Amazon. So you can search for A Japanese Boy, and then you could just say A Japanese Boy Shigemi or Shukichi, either of the author's 2 names, and you'll find it. Or you can search for A Japanese Boy, the voice of Nick. The problem with the SEO of this book being that if you just search A Japanese Boy on Amazon, there's any number of things that can come up, like clothes for a boy or whatever. Like it could be anything. And it doesn't really show up. The book doesn't show up if you just search that. So Japanese Boy, illustrated, voice of Nick, whatever. Look for this on Amazon. There'll be a link in the description as well, so you can find it there. And if you want to find the book on Audible, which will be much more easy because there's fewer types of products on Audible, you can find the audiobook version on Audible coming very soon. That's what we're working on right now. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.